I hope that helps out. I guess I was, it helps to plug the microphone in. I was using a microphone for filming some of the stuff for the Vettehawk and totally forgot to put it back on there. Oh, Mike Shotkin's on. Hey, man, how you doing? Hopefully everybody has got the volume now. Yeah, I had the microphone plugged in. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I had the microphone plugged into my camera, taking some videos of the Vettawk project, and it was sitting here on the desk, but it never plugged it back into the tower. So, sorry about that. So, I guess I'll go over what I was. Sorry. Go over what I was talking about earlier. So, had a good Christmas. My oldest turned 40 on last Wednesday, and so we went over to their place, had a little birthday / Christmas party, and my youngest is down from Ohio, so we had a lot of family around for Christmas, which is always fun. And my best friend for a long time, 41 years, was down from Pennsylvania, and so we did some catching up. Had grabbed some lunch today, but last Thursday I was doing some sniper EFI tuning, and I got a little video on that. I ran into a problem that I've seen on the forums. I've never seen myself, and I've installed quite a few of these. The unit that I was working on, I did not install. They couldn't get it running, and so I had to go check it out. And then I did some tuning on a buggy, and I meant to get pictures of the buggy, and I totally forgot. But that was a lot of fun riding around out in Loxahatchee on the buggy. And we got Leo's turbo in. I did not get the turbine housing back from powder coat yet, so I don't have a complete turbo yet, but I do have the broken part replaced. So that's a good thing. I got a little slideshow to show on that. And I decided for Christmas I would give myself some time to work on my Vettehawk. So I worked on that Sunday and Monday, and actually had to finish up a little bit today so I could get it back out of the shop so I can get back to customer work. But made a little slideshow on that. So all in all, it was a pretty good week, pretty busy. Camaro was running, but I did not get back to that. I'm going to work on that tomorrow. And, that was pretty much it. Had a really, really good holiday. And seen my brother and sister-in-law and her family Christmas Eve. So, yeah, we got around. Hopefully everybody had a good Christmas also. So, give it a couple minutes here. I'll start showing the slideshows at 7. That way, if anybody's working on getting in here. So I apologize about the sound. I kind of throw this together in the last minute every Tuesday. So sometimes you're going to catch me with problems, but that happened. So I'm hoping to get over to Leo's. Boy, I'd really like to get over there next weekend. We're going to try to run that car on the 7th in Bradenton. And when you see the pictures of the turbo, you're going to understand why we had no boost. It was pretty incredible. I mean, I showed some of the damage, but when you compare it to what a good turbo looks like, you can really, really see the carnage that we were dealing with. So that's going to be very interesting to see how that all turns out. And when we go over there, be working on Bill's car also. So we'll should be a good, exciting Sunday on the 7th there in Bradenton, getting these hot rods down the track. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll try to see if I can drag my buddy Chuck with me, and then we can maybe get some video of that. Because I'm going to be busy on the keyboard, I feel, between the two cars. And I don't know if Mike Burrell's going to take his car over too. If he does, then that's 3 cars I'll be messing with. So that'll be a busy day, but we'll get through it and get everybody out running and everything. and I got a lot of progress on the Vettehawk for the minimal amount of time I got on it. Fast sheet says, assuming it's scarred to housing as well. No, it actually, because the turbine housing's cast iron, it really didn't do anything to it. The valve, the piece of the valve that did all the damage was the valve stem was still in the turbo. So the only thing that actually went out the turbo was the broken fins, and I think that was one of those deals that was breaking them slowly at a time, so they were pretty small fragments. And you know, the impeller is so thin, I believe it's Inconel, so it wasn't any really scratches or anything in the turbine housing. I sent it out to get powder coated only because it was really rusty and nasty looking, and we had it apart, so why not freshen it up, make it look like new again. But we'll go ahead and we're getting close to 7, so let's let me think which video that is now. I think it's this one. Yep. So obviously that's the Studebaker with the motor in it. So there's the damaged impeller, and the cast iron piece under the impeller, believe it or not, is supposed to be how wide the fins are. There's a new one. You can see that goes all the way to the outside of that stand. So quite a bit of turbo teeth missing, and there's a comparison. Not a really good angle, but you can see. I mean, the wheel is significantly smaller, so definitely going to work a lot better. In fact, I'm pretty excited to see how much boost it's actually going to make. You can see on the left-hand side, the new turbo has an aluminum backplate on the compressor side, where the old one was cast iron, and the impeller design is completely different. So that's probably where they picked up the extra 200 horsepower. And there's the weight of the old turbo minus the turbine housing, and 29 pounds. So it's a pretty significant piece. And so with the new compressor housing with the aluminum back house, just barely 25. So nice weight gain, or weight loss gain. And the impeller design looks really good on the compressor side. So that's going to be, like I said, the original GT Garrett was only rated for 1,400 horsepower max, and the new one is rated for almost 1,600. So almost a 200 horsepower gain in airflow. Oh, and the old turbo was a journal bearing, so it had like bronze light of some sort bearing, and then the new one is a ceramic ball bearing. So the new one spins incredibly fast and will continue spinning with no oil in it for a long time, where the old turbo will stall after about 4 or 5 revolutions. So it's going to be pretty wild to see what kind of gains we get out of it. I know we're going to have to tiptoe the first run or two because we've messed with so much stuff on the car, with the anti-lag and with the wastegate controls and stuff, that we're going to have to kind of tiptoe and see where we're at before we really get a full pass in. But I think we found our issue. I know we found a problem, and I think the car is going to come alive, and I'm pretty confident we're going to see a 790 pass on the 7th. So that'll be really exciting to get there. At that point, at 790, I think puts us to the second fastest 4200 ever that I can find records of. And at that point, it was a dragster that was in comp eliminator, so it probably weighed its weight to cubic inch. So I think it probably weighed about 1,600 pounds compared to our door car, which is Leo's car is about 2,600 pounds with a driver in it. So going to be exciting to see what we have, and this is definitely going to put us in the right direction for eventually. I'd like to see some 750s out of the car. So I think now that we have this component found and repaired or replaced, that we're gonna be able to get there. So stay tuned for that. We'll have videos when we after the 7th. So we'll show everything that we accomplished. So pretty exciting on that one. Can't wait to get it on there and see what it does. I'm pretty excited about that. So unfortunately the powder coater wasn't able to finish it last week, so because of Christmas and everything. So he said I'd have it definitely this week. I really wanted to show you what the new powder coated turbine housing. It's going to look really nice, and hopefully, like I said, I can get over there and get it on the car before the 7th, so I don't have to go over and do all that on the same weekend. So all I can say is stay tuned for that. We'll see what happens, and go from there. So last Thursday, my buddy Doug up at DNR called me and said, "Hey, I got a car and need you to tune. It's not one of our jobs. It's another shop that they were doing the alignment work on." And it was a 513, I think, Ford crate motor in a 69 Mustang. And the sniper that was on it was a couple years old and new build, although they have had it running probably for the last 6-8 months or something like that. But they really, the tech that was working on it was really having issues with it. And we were, kind of going over different scenarios on how to tune it and stuff like that. And I kind of got lost on it, to tell you the truth. So I went to work on it. I'm looking. I see that the distributor is a Hyperspark, but his tune shows it being a dual sync. And then I wasn't really paying attention to what part number. I had no idea what part number the throttle body was. I should have asked. But I saw in the tune file name it said 2x4, 2x4. So I thought it was a tunnel ram tune, but actually what it was an 8 injector sniper, because the motor was supposed to make right at 600 horsepower. So I guess they went with the 8 injector to super sniper. So at least that's what I think, because when I started messing with it, a lot of issues with the thing. When I plugged my laptop in, I could download a file, but then the car wouldn't start after I did that. So I'd put it on the SD card, put it in the handheld that way, then the car would start, same exact file. Very strange. And then we had a lot of issues with it running. Wasn't sure the distributor was phased properly, went through all that. Got it to sound better. And the plugs were dead, so we put plugs in it. And then all of a sudden, it just, out of the blue, started running like crap again. And I had it idling and stuff pretty good. And I'm like, I got this thing licked, So that really had me scratching my head, and then you got the issues with not being able to put a tune in through the handheld, or through the laptop, and the SD card and all that. And the other thing was the way the Mustang was, it had billet hood hinges on it, so the hood barely opened up, so you couldn't see in the throttle body at all from the side of the car. So I took my phone and videotaped it, and this is what we found. First of all, they put a progressive linkage on, and they had the progressive timing all wrong in the software. So you see there's no spray at all in the secondary. We start tapping on the throttle body, and the two front ones are working okay. And then all of a sudden, you'll see here in a second.
That one is? Oh, the back one. I know, but this
there
one
goes,
is.
and
That one is. Now this
the
one
right barrel just dries out. Now we're running a one barrel. Tap it, and it tries to come back. So, pretty sure that this thing has had the issue where the connectors on the injectors are coming on. like I said, I've seen that numerous times on the internet. I've never actually seen one myself, but there's the video evidence that it does happen. Now, we did not take it apart, or I did not take it apart to find out what was going on with it. The shop that was working on it decided that they really needed to get the car back to the customer, so I think they ended up putting a carburetor on it that came with the crate engine when they purchased it. So I don't know how that all went from there. But I thought it was interesting that indeed there was one that the injector was not spraying on. Like I say, I'd never seen it myself up until this point. Now that throttle body was, when I was talking to the shop owner, that throttle body was a very old Sniper, even though it was new on that engine and came out of a new box, but it was like a 3 or 4 year old unit. So don't know what the whole thing was with it, but whether it was dirt in the injectors, or connectors loose or what it was, but there was a problem. See, John's in. Hey, John, how you doing? Hope you had a good Christmas. Yeah, so that was interesting. Now, it wasn't at the time. I mean, it was a hair puller for about an hour or so, because I had the thing running sweet, and it just like somebody cut the key off or whatever. It just started running really bad, and then we're chasing it. Why is it doing it? Why isn't it doing it? My buddy Doug was assisting me. He was checking out, the unit and stuff, and it was crazy. And like I said, had I not took the, that's why I took the video, because I'm like, there's something going on there. Let's start it up and let me take a video shot of what's going on in the injectors, because I can't see down there, so I don't know what's going on. And that's when we found the problem. And we never could get the secondary injectors to turn on, so I don't know if that was something in the I did see that they had the software set up progressively, but at that point I'd gone around in circles, so I really didn't really can't remember where that was actually at. And the file, I don't have it because it was on the SD card. So but that was really strange about not being able to use the laptop. That's the first time I've ever had a system where I couldn't plug the laptop in and make it work. So either the injector connectors were coming loose and it has a ECU problem, or it may have just been an ECU problem all along and the drivers were damaged in the ECU to fire the injector. So don't know. Unfortunately, they decided to put a carburetor on it and call it a day, so we may never know, but still thought it was interesting anyway. And then I ran out and did another job on a Palm Beach buggy. Had a 400 cubic inch blueprint engine with a Sniper on it, and did some tuning on that. That was another strange deal, to the point where when the engine was idling, it only showed 70 kPa on the map sensor, which is, I don't know, maybe 8 inches of vacuum. And the motor had a dual plane, and it didn't sound that radical at all. Of course, we called Blueprint, and oh no, our performance motors only make about 5 inches of vacuum. That's news to me. I've never heard of a street motor making 5 inches of vacuum, but whatever. I wasn't going to argue with them. Not my engine, not my problem. But I just tuned around it, and we got it running pretty good. And then it started raining. That's why I didn't get any footage of that one, because no roof on a buggy. So, but I did get it finished, so that was all good. So, like I was saying earlier, I my Christmas present to myself was going to work on the Vettehawk for a couple days. So, I'm trying to get the part 2 video finished. So I'm really close. I had a stopping point that I wanted to get to. I'm not quite there yet to make the part 2 video make sense, I guess. So, in part 1, we went from stripping the Vettehawk body or chassis, making the modifications to the frame, and cutting the Skyhawk body until it was the shell, and then putting the two on. So I thought that was a complete chapter, so to speak, or complete part. Started with two, made one. So on the part two, I've made struts, took the suspension, the springs and stuff out of the car, and the springs and shocks, made struts to hold the car up and put them in the shock location. That way I can set ride height. And then I shifted the body to line up with the wheelbase. And then this weekend, I cut the inner fenders, the rear quarter panels, because to get the car at ride height on the Vett chassis, the body was sitting on the tires. So we chopped that yesterday. And then I made a structure to hold the body up. So now the body is actually bolted to the frame, so the body can still be removed. But with the bolts mounting the body to it, now the body can flex. It doesn't matter when I put it back on, line it up, it's all back to where it was. So that allowed me to take the X frame out from inside the bodywork. So now I can start doing the floors, and that's where I think I'm gonna kind of stop that part too, is getting the framing for the tubes for the floor in. So we'll see. I'll think about that, because I'd really like to get that video out this coming weekend. So I got New Year's giving me some time to get some editing done and get that out. So keep an eye out for that. But here's the little slideshow I made on the work I did this week. So obviously that's my rendering, and it's it's going to be in homage to the IMSA GT Decon cars. That there was Decon number 3. I think Hal Hobart actually drove that at one time. We might have won a championship in this car, but they painted it blue. So a little backstory: I had a Vett cart sitting behind the shop. Didn't know what I was going to do. I was going to put a motor in and just flip it. But I wanted a really good autocross car, and I liked the Monza Skyhawk H-body cars. I had one when I was a kid. So the wheelbase is only 3/4 of an inch different. So boom, put the the Skyhawk body on the Corvette frame. So that's the start out of the Skyhawk Vettehawk. So there's all the body work from Harry's Glass, and so that's basically where I was at before this weekend. So there I got a dummy block LS and the 4 LED trans, and we used Chevy mounts from Holly. They put the engine small block in. I shot a laser on it to make sure the engine was lined up with the rear end yoke and squared in the car. Perfect alignment. And then you can see here there's a structure that I made in the back of the car to hold the back of the body up. So now there's no more X bracing inside the car, so now I can go ahead and get inside the car to do work on it. So in these pictures you can kind of see the quarter panels have been cut, and now the car is at its ride height. The Monza rockers, or the Skyhawk rockers, are actually below the Corvette frame now. So I've got the body pretty darn low on the frame. My math tells me the inside from the floor to the roof is going to be 43 inches. So that should be it should be pretty good. Fast as I'm assuming it scared the housing as well. I'm assuming you talk about the 36 housing in the Corvette. It's scarred housing. We were talking about the turbo. Sorry about that. Mike Shockins is badass on the car. Thanks. So this should be the ultimate autocross car. Corvette suspension and a Monza body, and it's going to look like a IMSA GT road race car. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I thought I had all the pictures on here. Now I realize I didn't. I actually had a Trailblazer SS manifold sitting on top of the dummy block, and it fit underneath the cowl. So that's makes me pretty excited because I see that new Holley LS3R Hillborn stack injection. I think I'm really pushing that's where I'm going to get for the car for intake. That's what these cars ran from back in the day. So I kind of want to do that. Nice love this Monza. Nice and low, yeah. So I put a level on the roof of the car and measured to the ground, and it's 48 1/4 inches right now from at the top of the roof to the ground. So real happy with the ride height. Of course, when it has 315s all the way around, that'll probably pick it up a little bit. I still have a little bit of thinking to do about what I'm gonna do with the offsets in the wheels and the opening. So on some of the pictures, I've got a ton of pictures of the decons when they were racing, and a lot of them you could see the wheel was up inside the fender. So I don't know if that's the look I want to do, or if I want to bring the tire out flush to the edge of the fender and move the wheel opening up on the fender to so the whole wheel sticks out. I'm not 100% sure on that. I think that's one of my next things. I need to get the proper wheels. I've got the tires and put them on, and that'll give me, I think that's going to tell me a lot more what's going on. Now that I've got this frame built in the back of it, it's giving me some insight of where I want to do with the fuel tank and exhaust and stuff. I think I am going to run the exhaust out the sides. I'm pretty positive about that, because the body, the rockers are rusted, so I'm going to cut them off anyway and build new rockers. So I can invert that rocker and make the exhaust get closer to the frame, which should, keep people from burning their legs on it. That's the only reason that's the only thing that's scaring me from not putting the side pipes on, is I don't want to get burnt on my calf every time I get in and out of the car. But I think if I do a 3-inch pipe and wrap that in a really good heat shield, and then put a 5-inch chrome stack as the heat shield, and I was even thinking about putting an expanded metal heat shield on top of that. So with all that, I think it's going to be okay. But that way I can get the exhaust all the way out the back. I can put the flat bottom under the car, because that's my plan, is the car is going to get a splitter, and then it's going to get a engine oil containment section. So it's going to be smooth from the front splitter through the engine containment to the floor, and then the rest of the car will be flat bottomed, and then the diffuser out the back of the car. So it should be really good for aerodynamics. The only thing right now it's going to be hanging down will be the mid plate and the transmission pan, but I'll make the containment shield go around those, so when the containment shield's on, it'll be smooth underneath the car all the way back. So should make it really good and aerodynamic. I'm going to put the front splitter on springs so it can move up to go, if it hits a curb or something like that, or a speed bump, it can move up. And on the front spoiler, I'm going to do I'm not sure what I'm going to do, whether I'm going to make it a 2-piece where it can go over top of the fiberglass, or the fiberglass can go in between 2 layers. So it's sealed off, but yet it's kind of like an accordion. So if the splitter moves, it doesn't break the fiberglass. So I got a lot of little things, a lot of little planning stuff that has to be done yet, but at least I got some progress on it. I feel good. I'm pretty sure I'm just about able to wrap up part 2. And actually, sitting here talking to you guys about this, I'm actually thinking maybe I should just end part 2 here and do the floors in part 3, because I'm going to do roll cage at the same time. So that may be all. That may be better to have that all done at the same time. So Mike says original inclined. I guess you talk about the shape of the car. It'll be pretty cool. I mean, I wasn't a big road race person, but I do remember watching the GT series when I was a kid, when they would show it on TV. So in the late 70s, 80s. So, and I've always had a thing for Monzas. When my buddy Rick was here today, you know, we were talking, and I said, you remember my old maroon Monza? And he shook his head. Yeah, he did. We used to go hot rod around. Not that the car was all that fast or anything, but it was pretty cool. Inline 4 motor. No, in the Monza, it's got I'm doing an LS. It's going to have a 427 LS. That's should be right about 700 horsepower. It should be pretty stout. It's going to solid roller motor, mast, black label cylinder heads, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the LS3R Hillborn stack injection on it. So it should be stout. When we picked the camshaft for it and ran a computer analysis of the dyno simulation, it was showing 740 horsepower and 600 foot-pounds of torque, and the torque curve was, I think it was over 450 from 3,500 RPM to 8,500 RPM. I don't remember the numbers exact, but it was stout. So that was, originally I had that engine to put in my 50 Chevy, and I just decided that was not the right car to put that much motor in to do autocross with. So this car being a C4 chassis, and I'm going to go ahead and do a Ride Tech upgrade on it with the 4-way adjustable shocks and everything, the canisters. This car will be worthy of that kind of power. So that's what's going to go in it. We'll see how the 4L80 automatic transmission works. I mean, I'm excited because of the shift on the steering wheel. So paddle shift. Couldn't think of the word. So yeah, so with the paddle shift, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And then of course, we're going to put some pretty stout parts inside the trans. So my goal would be to, once it gets in the second gear for autocross, and I put the switch in to put on manual shift mode on paddle shift, that it locks the converter up, and that way it'll, on the autocross track, it's going to act just like a stick shift, because the converter will be locked. That'll keep the heat down and allow it to heavily DXL and XL in second, third, and fourth. So any track that we go on, we should be able to have plenty of gear ratio, and it should work real well. We'll see. If it burns up, then maybe I'll put a T56 in it. I'm definitely going to put the pedal assembly in, so it could add a clutch if need be. But with the Chevy on the highway, the 50 Chevy, there was a couple times we got into some traffic accidents and stuff, and I got to say, when you got that big clutch in there, it's no fun. Mike says, same chassis as the Chevy Vega originally. No, so the Skyhawk is H-body, so it's basically the same platform as a Vega. That had a trailing arm in it instead of a 4-link rear suspension. So 4-link, you've got 4 bars, 2 lower outer trailing arms, and 2 diagonals in the top. But on the Monza and Skyhawk, which is the second generation of H-bodies, it actually had a trailing arm that went up the center of the car, like your 82 to 2002 Camaros and Firebirds had. But this car, what I did was I took a C4 chassis, Corvette chassis, and it's the same wheelbase except for the 3/4 of an inch difference. But besides that, basically it's the same wheelbase. Corvette's a much wider car, so what I did was I put new frame rails in the width that the Monza H-body would take, and then I cut all the Corvette stuff off that was outside of that dimension. So that's why the tires stick out so far of the the white body because it's a Corvette rear end with a much narrower body on top of it. But then with the Decon fiberglass bodywork, it's the GT bodywork on top of it. Now it allows you to put big wide tires on it and fills the difference up. So you'll have to check Mike on my channel. There's the same picture, that Skyhawk part 1, and that video shows the whole procedure for narrowing the frame and cutting all the floors and all the structure out of the Monza or the Skyhawk, and then putting the two together and making a one car out of two different cars. So basically a body swap or a chassis swap, whichever way you want to look at it. I guess it would be a chassis swap because we're calling it a Skyhawk, so it is a Skyhawk, and that's the VIN number I'm using. So it's a chassis swap to a C4 Corvette chassis. It's actually, the chassis was actually a 1989 Corvette. So that's what we're doing. I kind of a little backstory. Some of you guys have probably already heard this before, but when I came back from LS Fest in 2022, after taking the 50 Chevy up there for 4 different events, and the car did very well for what it was. I mean, it's a big, long wheelbase, high center of gravity car, and I would normally finish in the top 20 out of 40 to 60 vintage cars at LS Fest. And at LS Fest, for you guys that may have not ever been there or heard about it, it's a racing. Well, now they have them in California and Texas and Bowling Green, but Bowling Green was the starting place, and it was a car event to show homage to the LS engine platform, and now also they added the LT now. So they have a Grand Champions class there because the show is run by I just lost his name, but anyway, the guy that runs the show is also the guy that is the production guy of Optima World Street Nationals. So he kind of made the format. So at LS Fest you do autocross at 2 different tracks, you do drag race, and then you do the 3S power stop, and you combine all your scores, and that's how you rate. So the car did good, but it wasn't. The racer in me wanted to be at the top of the class, so I decided to build a proper autocross car that would fit the bill. And obviously, your 70s and 60s cars just don't have the suspension engineering for that kind of thing. So it requires a frame swap, and that's what most people do with most of the autocross cars. And but rather than putting a chassis from Speed Tech or boy, totally losing my mind. There's a plethora of companies making new frames for old cars now. But rather than do that, I wanted to do something I built on my own. So that's what got me to this point. Ryan says, funny how close your stance and footprint are. I'm very wide as well. Yeah, I in your pictures. I mean, that, goes back to when we were kids and you saw the Pontiac commercials, Pontiac wide track. But I mean, the truth is actually, the wider the track width of the car is, the better the handling is going to be. It just helps in cornering CGs and or cornering Gs and all that stuff. So it just makes sense to do that. I know, Ryan, on your car, I guess you're going to have to make some wide body panels because I don't think anybody, Hurst, I think, or Hooker used to make a semi-wide body kit for the Vegas. There's been a lot of pictures of a white and gray Vega that's been circulating. I've seen him at a couple of LS Fest events and stuff, and he started out with the Hooker ones, and then I think they ended up building them out of metal, but that's kind of what he did. So, but yeah, so when I did this, I started out with the Corvette and said, okay, now how do I make the H body fit on it? And of course, I started looking at. I really never took notice of the decon cars or the cars that were copies of the decons after that. Of course, I always knew about the Mirage, which was the factory car. It was they did just to help, use they're paying IMSA GT, they're paying Decon to build them for IMSA GT racing, so they decided they should make a street version. And of course, they didn't want to put those big wide panels on because they would have to take all new suspension stuff. So they made the Mirage package, which was only maybe an inch wider than the factory, and they could just put a little wider tire on there and it made it work. So, but I know, Ryan, you're crafty, so I know you're going to build something nice. Your body work is phenomenal and above everybody that I've seen. So it'll be pretty cool to see. Yeah, he said I'll be building my own panels. Okay, maybe like than the hooker style, more like a Porsche. Yeah, that'll be cool. Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the more realistic way of approaching it, is making more of the 911 type tire bulges on the side. I think it looks really nice. I've seen a bunch of Camaros done with that done when they're going to the 315s, and it looked really, really nice on it. And of course, since I got that NASCAR and I've been going through all these groups, NASCAR vintage racing groups, I didn't realize that back in the day, the sportsman cars, when they were running second-gen Camaros, they actually used Volkswagen Beetle fenders to put humps in, because they would lower the car way down low. The tires would be almost, when they're running that wide 5 pattern, the tires would be really close to the top of the fenders. So they would take VW fenders and take the hump and put that into the front fenders and into the rear quarters to cover the tire. It's really weird because I watched Dale Jr. downloads quite a bit, and they were talking. This is probably about a year or two ago, and they were talking about he was laughing. I remember my dad using those Beetle fenders, and I'm like, Beetle fenders? What the heck are they? What the heck is he talking about? But now I've seen hundreds of pictures of cars from the 70s, and sure enough, you can see that bulge in the they put in the fender, and that's exactly what they did. They took the Volkswagen fender and took a section out of it and put that bulge right up on top of the fender. So there's quite a few different ways you could go about it, but like I said, your metal work is phenomenal, so I know you're going to be able to make it awesome. So yeah, so I'm excited I got that done with the car. Really, I was thinking about maybe working on it again New Year's Day, but now I'm kind of thinking I ought to just go ahead and get a part 2 video out and get some roll bar tubing ordered, and then next work on it in a couple weeks from now and go ahead and bend up the cage and get all that done. That's the reason why the body's not welded on the car yet, and why I was very concerned about how the placement of the body was. I mean, as Ryan, I've seen in Ryan's pictures, he's got his body supported, with tubing Xing it out so it keeps its shape. But now that I have that rear support made, and I've got bolts in there, and I got bolts in the frame rails in the door jambs, now I can pull that body off and just realign it to those holes and bolt it back on, and I know the car's back square again. So now I can go ahead and build the rest of the frame structure, the roll cage. I can even do some of the tin work. I can put the frame on a rotisserie and flip it over to weld the floor panels in, and I can just take the body off and do all that work and then put the body back on. And it'll give me a chance to get the frame blasted too. I was looking at it today, and being all those years as a Vettehawk, all those years as a vet cart with no body on it and all the frame exposed with no paint, even though it was a lot of galvanized coated steel that GM used on that, there's a lot of chalky corrosion on it. I don't think it's rust of any sort, but it just looks nasty. And it would be really nice to have that all blasted off and put a nice coat of black paint on everything. Then put the body back, clean up the inside of the body, put the body back on. Then I can make that all permanent, and then finish up the sheet metal work and move on to plumbing and wiring and paint and all the fun stuff, mounting all those body panels. That'll be a lot of fun. I don't want to start too much of the mounting, like the doors or anything, until the body's back on permanent, because I just don't want to. It may move or whatever. I want to keep my gaps pretty good. But it will be a quasi street car / race car, so I'm not going to be super hung up on gaps, but I definitely want it to look right. I don't want it to look hokey in any way. So we'll see how that goes. I got the update on the trying to think now what day I found out all that information on the NASCAR 98 Ford Taurus, Jeff Bodine, number 7. So through a bunch of groups on Facebook, Facebook's not only good for catching up with old school friends and stuff like that, but it's good for doing research for stuff. So before I get that, Mike says, are you building it to race, keep, or sell? So the Vettehawk is going to be hopefully my keeper car. This thing is, so let me backtrack. So the 50 Chevy was a fun car to put together. I thought I was going to keep it for, probably not ever, but I was going to keep it for a long time. But the car kind of ran its course because I built it in stages, and the next stage was going to be paint interior, and it was going to be very costly, and by then I had already had all my fun in the car, so that's why that car left. So that car did get me connected to autocross, and that definitely got me wanting to build a proper autocross car. So this car, in my eyes, is going to be a cruiser. It's going to be something I can take to all the local car shows. We have a group that I haven't been able to join in quite a while because I don't have a car, but they go weekly to, they'll do a 15, 20 mile cruise, hit a couple car shows and bebop around. And, it's really a lot of fun when you're going down Southern or Lantana or 441, and there's 20 muscle cars all around, and you're all riding in a group, and everybody's got their loud exhaust, and it's a lot of fun. So that's kind of where we're going. So autocross, car cruising, car shows, and being it's going to be automatic, I'm probably going to do some drag racing with it also. But that's kind of it. I'm definitely wanting to build this car complete the first go around, so it won't be like the other car where I ran into a stage that was going to be a lot of money and I'd already had my fun with the car. So that's kind of where we're at with that car. And I've got a NASCAR Ford Taurus that's kind of going to fill the interim because it's going to take some time to get this car finished the way I want to get it finished. Ryan says the gray and white Monza belongs to, yes, to Brian. Yep. That car and yours have been some inspiration to me. Yeah, Brian's car is really cool. I seen it, like I said, at LS Fest a couple years. I'm really surprised that he's getting the coverage he's getting now when the car has been out actually. I think I saw it in 19 was the first year I saw it. I could be wrong though. There may be another one around it. But anyway, Byron's is really cool. Really good looking car. Mike says can't wait to see it. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And it's going to have air conditioning, power, Lexan windows. I'm going to put all the creature comfort, stereo system, everything you need to cruise. The 50 Chevy, whenever I took that on the highway, it had, because I did truck arm suspension in the back, I ran the exhaust on the outside of the frame under the rockers, and it came out behind the rear tire. So, in front of the rear tire. So, you couldn't drive the car with the windows down because it was just obnoxiously loud. Whenever I drive it to like the Jacksonville or Daytona or something like that, I had to wear headphones because it was just so loud. And I didn't want that for the next car. I'll put cutouts in it so I can make it loud, but I want it, more mild. Tailpipe's all the way out the back, so it can be loud behind me, but not. I don't want the cockpit noisy and stuff like that. Yeah, drink holders. Absolutely got to have drink holders. Got to have that room for that big gulp, because when you're on the highway, you have to have that. I got to have that drink. Anyway, I was starting to talk about the NASCAR, and I don't know if I mentioned this on the show last week, but I actually found the guy who thinks he put that body on the car. So Jeff Bodine reached out to me on Facebook in this one group and was asking how I got it and such. But talking to Brian Hicks that says he put the body on, he actually says he put the body on in '98. So at that point, Jeff Bodine was still driving those cars, but he wasn't the owner of the team anymore. He had sold his shares to this guy, Jim Matty, who actually owned Chick-fil-A. No, not Chick-fil-A. Checkers. He was the founder of Checkers restaurants. And so, that was kind of one of the things we thought it was funny, because we're trying to get the timeline how it got from Matty's motorsports race team to Truett Cathy, who was the founder of Chick-fil-A, and it was in his museum. So it was kind of weird how that happened. Who knows? I don't know if I'll ever find out, but I'm working on it. But anyway, so Brian definitely feels that was a body he had mounted, and he didn't know where the car came from. He actually didn't work for the team. He worked for a race shop that actually did hung bodies on cars. And so, we still, the mystery of the chassis is still up in the air. I talked to another guy, Aaron Brown, another ex race shop guy that's got his own restoration shop now in North Carolina. He recognized a couple of the components in the car as they were probably components they had laying around the shop, because he made them when he was working for Bodine Racing. And he saw in the pictures that I sent him and Brian that the petty bar that comes from the roof on the passenger side down to the floor frame, that bar was two-piece. So the petty bar was introduced in 1988 when, if any of you got NASCAR fans, remember Richard Petty's silhouette barrel roll down the fence I think it was at Daytona. The car rolled like 80 times and then got hit. Once it landed, got hit pile drive by a car coming. He was facing traffic and pile drived it. And the way the cage twisted and bent, they introduced the petty bar to go in there and give the driver some more safety. And that bar in my car is two-piece. And Aaron Brown said that at some point NASCAR mandated that it had to be a one-piece bar. So once I find out when that mandate was, that'll kind of give us a better indication of when that chassis was made. The chassis manufacturer was Laughlin Race Products. They built thousands of cars. So that's the only identifying marking I found on the frame so far, is on the left front spring perch. It has LPR 943 stamped in that frame. So that was from whenever they started numbering their cars, car 943. Of course, Laughlin has been out of business for a number of years, and a couple of the guys, I think a couple of the guys in the shop opened up Ortec. They have Laughlin's phone number. For a while they had the same address, and now they have a different address. and those guys were still manufacturing Laughlin components and stuff like that. I finally got a hold of them, and when I talked to them about records, their records start at 1200 and go up from there. So he really couldn't help me, and actually they're not even making parts themselves. They've pretty much retired, because now the new Cup cars are all cars are manufactured by one company now, and they're all interchangeable chassis and interchangeable parts. They just hang a different body on them. So kind of is putting those little shops out of business. And then it seems like a lot of these other guys are all going into restoration business, as far as restoring old NASCAR and Busch and Cup cars and stuff like that, ARCA cars, and just hanging bodies probably on late models and stuff like that, and sportsman cars that are racing in their area. So I do see, now that my eyes have been open, I've been looking into the vintage NASCAR scene, that there are a lot of people refurbishing these older cars, all trying to keep the whole NASCAR, what most of us would call the golden years. I know it was the golden years I watched NASCAR, was 70s, 80s, 90s, and into the early 2000s. I'm sure myself and a lot of people out there, once Dale Earnhardt passed away, it kind of took a big piece of wanting to watch the racing out, and then of course Dale Jr. came up and was doing very well. That kind of filled that void for a while, but later in his career, with all of his concussions and all of his problems going on, he just wasn't running up in the front anymore, and it kind of made it all dwindle down again. So now I turn it on every now and then. I don't even know any of the people that are driving. They're all, all of the old guys are all gone now, and got a whole slew of young guns in there now, and nothing wrong with that. I just haven't kept up with it. I have so many other automotive interests that I'm not hooked on that NASCAR scene. Of course, in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was stock car racing myself and locally in Florida, so that gave me more interest in watching those guys too. But so that's the updates on that car. I got the components coming for the engine. I picked up a 4-speed for it and a bell housing for it, scatter shield for it. So as soon as I can get the engine parts here, hopefully in the next couple weeks, I'll slap that motor together and get that in running. And I've got headlights, Taurus headlights coming from my local parts house. And I'm kind of hoping, I'm going to make a pattern of the headlight lens, and I'm hoping that the front fascia on the Cup car has enough similarity to the Taurus headlight that I can cut the openings and put the headlights in. I have narrowed down the taillights to a couple different, because the back of the car is a generic stock car rear bumper cover. So the Chevys, the Pontiacs, the Dodge, and the Ford all ran that same rear panel back there, at least in the year that the 98 body that I have. So the stock Taurus taillights would never fit in, so I'm not even going to try. So I was looking at doing maybe an early Mustang or maybe a Bronco taillight, early Bronco. I was looking on the digital company makes all the LED taillights, and kind of thought the way the Mustang lights protrude through the body, I could slot them out and put them sticking out through the glass tailpiece, and then with the sequential taillights, I thought that looked pretty cool. So getting really close to, once I get the lights in that car and I get it running, I'm getting really close to start filling out the paperwork to try to get the car street legal. I think I've got enough information that I can, because I want to register as a Laughlin Racing Products car. I don't want to register as a 98 Ford Taurus, because it's not. But the chassis is a Laughlin chassis, so I kind of wanted to use that as the VIN identification for it. Plus, I don't know how long I'll keep that car, but I've seen a bunch of guys rebodying these cars with like Chevelle, 70 Chevelle bodies and different bodies like that. So that would be really cool to do that. So I don't know how the greenhouse or the cockpit section would line up to do that, but it's not something I'm worrying about right now. But that could be a really cool project down the road. But right now the big thing is try to get it street legal so I can do some local car shows and some car cruises, and get ready to do some burnout shows with it. I definitely want to go to LS Fest this year and do the burnout show. I've been kind of toying with putting 18-inch wheels on it and doing the autocross, but I don't know if I want to, if that's what I want to do with that car. So our original thought was street legal and burnout, so I think that's what we're going to try to stay to. It's unfortunately it's real easy for me to get distracted and start thinking of other things. So being that this car doesn't, have a final destination in my brain yet, so I just got to try to knock off all the odd thoughts and just stay steadfast to street legal and burnout car for right now. That's what we were going to do. That was our goal when we got the car, was to do some burnout comps for the channel. And so I'm going to stay with that for now. The Vettehawk, from the day I started building that project, when I drew that rendering, I already knew what that car was going to be. Maybe the drag race portion was added in, but the autocross, cruiser, AC, power windows, creature comfort, which is where the automatic came from for creature comfort, that was already, those checked all the boxes when I started drawing the rendering on that car. So I don't have to worry about, getting off track on that car. The only thing is, because I want all those creature comforts, there's a lot of components I have to purchase. A lot of it I'm going to have to purchase new. So it's going to take the car a little bit longer to build, where my Chevy, I was bartering and marketplace and whatever, eBay, whatever I could find parts. Oh, that's what I'll put on the car. So it kind of evolved by what I could get on a good deal. The Vettawk, like I said, I've checked the boxes. I know exactly what components I want to put in the car, and most of them are not going to be able to be purchased used. So I'm just going to bide my time and do it right. And when the car's done, it'll be done complete the first time around, and it'll be great. See, John Roberts, it would be fun to see it on an autocross track. Yeah. So one of the guys in Stock Car Classics is one of the groups I joined. Actually, I joined the club. They do race parades, race shows at NASCAR events and at a couple other events. So they run Rockingham, Darlington. They're trying to get in North Wilkesboro. They run Atlanta, the road course. So this is a group of guys that all have retired stock cars, and they're keeping the memories alive. So they go out at these events and they get to run 20-minute laps. And of course they're not running flat out, but still running fast enough, and you're getting to turn laps on a track that car may have actually raced on at one time. So it's a really cool thing. I don't know how many events I'm going to get to with it, because most of them are in North Carolina, and so a drive for me. But I did meet a guy, Nick Moody, and he's in Daytona, and he's part of the group. He's got just lost the thought of it. He's got a 71 Dodge Charger, car 71, but it's a tribute car. It's not a real NASCAR. It's a street car that they've put a roll cage and kind of making it look like it was what they raced back in the day, but it's not. He actually has a Kodak, I think it's a petty car, Kodak Dodge, that he's building now to have a legit NASCAR. So he's in Daytona, so that's cool. And I met him at the Turkey Rod Run face to face, and he got me talking to the guy that runs the garage area there. And at the spring and Thanksgiving rod runs, the one garage area is all set up for vintage race cars. So that guy's like, no, bring your car in. You get free entry into the event. You get to park your tow vehicles and stuff right in front, because it's right in the right past the tunnel turn, coming out of turn 4 at Daytona. And there's a lot of emergency vehicle room there. So we get to use all that for our personal cars parking, and we get the race cars in the garage area. People can come and enjoy the seeing what was raced then. So definitely going to do that. But anyway, reason I was mentioning it. So Joe Jackson out of North Carolina, he's road raced his car, and he's autocrossed it, and he actually said it actually did very well. Now, when he road raced it or autocrossed it, he was running on the Goodyear slicks, so it must have been like a fun club or something like that, or they just didn't let him run as a show or something, because obviously we all know you got to have 200 treadwear tires to race in autocross legit. But I am looking. I will say that every now and then I start searching the internet for a set of 18 by 10 wheels with a 515 bolt pattern, so that I can possibly do some autocross. So I've been collecting 315 tires, so it'd only be an inch shorter than the NASCAR legal tire, so I think it'd be a no-brainer. So if anybody knows anybody's got an 18-inch, I'd love to get a steel wheel, but I don't think you can find them. I think we're going to have to do like an aluminum 4x4 wheel, but I'd like that one with cutouts, so it looks like a legit, like the right shape for the car. So anybody knows anything, hit me up, let me know. So that is a thought. It may happen. We'll see. I still haven't had the car up on a rack. I still haven't verified whether it's a super speedway car or a short track car. It looks like a super speedway car because there's no brake ducts on the front of the car. So, but of course it was a show car. It was actually, with this body, it was never actually raced. So there's a good possibility that they didn't put the brake ducts in just because it didn't need them. But we'll see. If the car's centered, it looks like it would be a easy fit for autocross, I think I'll do it. If nothing, just for fun. But we'll see. Definitely, I can't wait to get a motor in and get it running. That'll be the first step. I got a lot of cleanup work to do. There's a lot of faded and peeling stickers on it, and there's a lot of little chunks of paint missing. I'm going to have to try to find. I'm still on the hunt for paint codes to get the original paint colors and stuff. The floors in the car need to be repainted because when it sat at the church for 3 years, all the rain sat on the floors, so it knocked the shine off the paint and aged it pretty quickly. So got some work to do there. Everything under the hood looks pretty good. The hood needs a little repair. At the hinges, the hood's torn a little bit. They didn't do a lot of reinforcement there, but then again, those cars probably didn't have the hoods open and closed enough times during their tenure as a race car to have a problem with them, or it's just a matter that the hinges got frozen from sitting out in the weather, and then somebody opened the hood and bent them, so I got to do a little repair work there. They're not ripped off yet, so I definitely want to fix that before it becomes an issue. But that's something we're probably in 2 or 3 weeks I'll get a slideshow and I get the car out of the trailer and maybe I can get it up on a lift and hopefully I might have that engine ready to go in it. So we'll see. I'm still working on clutch parts, headers. I think I've got the oil pan and everything that I want to use. I've got a 5th gen Camaro pan on the 427. Well, on the dummy block that will one day be the 427, and that has really nice ground clearance on the C4 chassis. So I think that's going to work out real well, and I think that'd be a good pan for the for the NASCAR also, because the crossmember on both the Corvette and on the Cup car, the crossmember is way forward of the engine, so it doesn't have to. It can have a long sump on it, and as long as it's just like the first 3 or 4 inches has a step, it'll fit in there fine. And of course, both those cars, the engine setback is behind the spindle, so the engine in the vet cart, I mean, that could almost have a full, like a boat sump pan in it, because the engine's completely behind the crossmember. The only thing that sits above the crossmember is the harmonic balancer. So, but that pan's going to work out good. They make drop-in shields with baffles in them for racing. So, and it's a GM pan, so I get the right pickup and all that stuff for it. We'll just put the baffles in it, and we'll be in good shape. Definitely be in good shape. So that's kind of what the week held this week. Again, I hope everybody had a good Christmas. It was really good catching up with family and friends for myself. See what happens this week. I've got a drag car. I got to do some suspension component changes and alignment and balance. So corner balance. So I'll try to get some video on that. I should have Joe's car and into a driving state. I've got the dash all back in the car now, and I'm just about done with all the little knickknacks inside the car that are holding it up from actually making it a driving car. I still have a lot of little things to do. I got to replace a door glass. I got to put new mirrors on, and I got to make a cold air intake for it yet. But that's not going to stop me from driving it and start get some mileage on it, and start making sure that we have all the I's dotted and T's crossed, and that it's going to be a trouble-free car for Joe. So that's going to be going on this week. And I got to go pick up some tires, autocross tires up in Orlando, and I got to go to Winter Haven and do a IHRA chassis cert on a drag car. So I think I'm going to do that on Thursday. And then I'll do that drag car probably Friday, Saturday. And I have to put the dash back in Scott's Skylark, so we'll get that car back on the ground. And once I get that car back on the ground, because that's got a sniper in it also, I'm going to do a sniper and a Terminator X video on data transferring, how to load data logs, upload and download tuning videos and stuff, tunes to the SD card, and take them out of the SD card to your computer, so that guys can, I can do more remote tuning rather than having to go to people to tune their vehicles. So we were doing really good with a couple cars on that, but it's a lot to explain to what the procedures are to get it done. So I think a video of each would be helpful, and that's something I want to do anyways. Once I get some of this work caught up, I definitely want to do a lot more Holly tutorials. It's a lot of good information. For you guys that come to watch the live shows, I've showed over time a bunch of stuff on those, and it's a really good system and does a lot of stuff for you. Really good system for a price point. There's a lot of systems out there to do a lot of stuff, especially for race cars. But I still think the Holly's the best bang for the buck. You get the most components and stuff out of it, and the most expansion of capabilities with the Dominator compared to your Hall Tech and your race Fuel Tech and stuff like that, and some of the other companies that are out there, Pro EFI, and there's a lot of other stuff out there, but those systems are more not really tailored to racing, so they're more street systems, and they all have their place. They're all good components. So, but the Holly, I just think, is really intuitive, and with watching a couple videos of some of the stuff that I've got in my brain to make videos on, it'll be real easy for you guys to tune your own systems and not need to go see tuners and stuff and get that whole scary vibe out of tuning these things, because with the self-learning you can get a lot of it done, with the help of the computer. And once you have some information to fall back on, it will fill in the gaps of where what it won't do. So you'll be able to put your tuner hat on and tune your own car. That's what we want right there. Get my thumbs in the screen. There we go. There's no reason why you can't. If you work on a carbureted car and you know whether it's rich or lean or it needs timing or not, you can do fuel injection. You just got to know which keys to hit. Because you can run the engine and like I showed last week, if you relate everything back to what a carbureted engine would be doing, all you got to do is figure out what key makes those adjustments, like the jet changes and the air bleed changes and acceleration enrichment and all that stuff. So it's all there. It's really nice when you can work on the way the engine runs and never get out of the driver's seat of the car. Just type on the keyboard and send it, and you're good to go. So it'd be really cool. But so unless anybody's got anything else, Ryan's doing real good with that truck. He sent me some pictures of gap in that tailgate. Awesome work. I can't wait till you get that thing finished and out to the public so we can show some of your handiwork, because it's been very enjoyable and enlightening, because you really go the extra mile to get that stuff working. And hopefully Chris will get his car back running soon so we can get him out there. And John, next time you go in autocross, hit me up so I can come check you out. Or I don't know if you're doing track days now or anything, but that'd be interested to see where you have the car now. It's been probably almost 2 years now since we raced at PBIR, so I'm sure you've made some changes and stuff like that on the car. Thanks to everybody that got on the chat. Mike Shotkin, thanks for checking it out. You're retired now, so you can come and check us out all the time. And Fast Sheet Garage, glad to see you back. A couple weeks now I've seen you on the chat, so really appreciate you coming. Hopefully you guys find this interesting. And use this to show what we're doing. Kind of make it like a bench race session. We all get to questions and answers and kind of thing, and show you what I've run across. And like a couple weeks ago I showed a slideshow of John's car when he built his car, so it was really cool. I would definitely want this to be a two-way interaction. I'm here behind the camera, but you guys are on the keyboard typing up, and if you got a project you want to show and we can discuss it, man, feel free. I got my emails are on the main page, and I'd love to. Oh yeah, Mike. Right. I'm sorry, Mike Allen. Sorry. Well, you'll be retired soon. We're all getting up there. But anyway, thanks, Mike, for coming on and checking it out. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so I was just saying that, I definitely wanted to be interactive. You guys in your day-to-day, you run into something that's a brain teaser, hey, bring it on the show and let's talk about it, Even if we don't, if there's no pictures, we can still put it in the chat and discuss it. And I think everybody enjoy it. Good, bad, and ugly. That's how we all learn. You guys that have been coming on the channel, you've seen when there's something messed up, I got no problem showing it. Just like that sniper. I'm I'm ashamed to say that it took me 2.5 hours to figure out that it had injectors turning on and off, but it did, because I just didn't know the car, didn't know the subject. They telling me everything's new and it just needs a good tune, and so I probably didn't ask enough questions. I should have got more part numbers and stuff. I do feel that they had issues where they didn't know a lot of stuff because the person that had installed all that stuff was no longer working at the company. So the guys that I were talking to, they were kind of picking up the pieces. The one tech that I was talking to, I mean, he, was kind of like, hey, I just keep plugging tunes into it till I get it to run right. So obviously, he wasn't sure what was going on, and I told him, hit me up and we'll get some stuff out there. And I really had planned on having a good tuning video on that, but when I got into that black hole with the injector stuff, it just kind of blew me away. And then I had an appointment with the buggy guy, which I was already late for, so I couldn't really take the time to do that. I kind of stacking up all that. So whenever I go out of the shop, I stack everything all in one day so I can minimize the time gone. So, but I see Mike says Merry Christmas, good job, can't wait to see the Vettehawk. Yeah, keep watching. I'll keep showing more videos as time goes on. I'm hoping this summer to get more in and out work in the shop and not these big builds, so that I can, every 5 or 6 cars I can slide the Vettehawk in and get some work done to it. So we'll see how that all works out. Of course, once I get Dave's Chevelle back to the body shop for their finished up, that's our normal Saturday project car. So once that car's done and out of the shop, that'll give us Saturdays to get back on it. So hopefully we'll keep making progress on that car in the near future. I definitely do not want to let it sit dormant and not get touched. Even though I've got the cup car, hopefully I can spend one weekend on that car and make it run and drive, and then use it and not have to keep working on it. We all know how that goes with hot rods, but anyway, Fast Sheet gave me a thumbs up, and Mike said thanks. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it. I got my daughter here, and I know the wife did some barbecuing tonight, so they're probably either already ate dinner and or they're waiting for me. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it a night, and get out in the garage and work on those projects, and we can get together next Tuesday and discuss what we had. So I guess I'll see you guys next year. I got to finally use that. We'll be using a lot, for the rest of the week now. Every time you see somebody, see you next year. But so we'll definitely, next Tuesday we'll get out here. It'll be episode 26. I'm shocked that it's that many. So incredible. So again, see, John said Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to all you guys, and then hopefully everybody will have a happy and very safe New Year's. We don't need to be the amateur hours out there, and we're gonna do this again. I'd had been gone already. Yeah, shout out to Steve and Sharon. They're in Charlotte with Chris and Taylor and Carter. They're in the cold weather. Last time I talked to they were freezing their tails off up there, 26 degrees or something. So anyway, Merry Christmas, guys. Have a great New Year's, and we will see you guys next Tuesday. See ya.